Hi everyone, how are you doing? I hope you're having a good day. Welcome back to Free Power. We're going to get into another episode where Steve Fambro is actually talking about the build quality of the Chinese vehicles, the BEV vehicles. And so let's get into it. Welcome back to my channel. It's good to have you here. We're all looking forward to Aptera coming out with their solar powered EV. And we are actually getting into a story where Steve Fambro is talking about Chinese electric vehicle build as well as what the Europeans are actually going to have to do to compete with them and also what the Japanese are doing. So let's go ahead and get into this. Let's check this out.
Um, in terms of the quality of products, I think they're world class. I've seen them. We've bought two of them in Aptera to tear apart and drive, and we've had world class experts come in, say these are some of the best components they've ever seen. Many of these companies hired the very best Western engineering companies to get to that point, but now they're sufficient on their own. They don't need the West anymore. So it's going to be a real challenge. The products are good. They're not good. They're exceptional good quality. Their pricing is incredibly competitive. It's not going to be easy to compete against them.
And so we talked a lot about China here, but where do you see Europe and Japan in this mix?
This is a pre-electric vehicle situation. So the problems that Volkswagen or Stellantis are having in Europe are more related just to the overall industry rather than just electric vehicles. For me to opine what their business is doing wrong and to fix it, I feel a little underqualified. So I'm just a one-person commentator, but I don't know what Volkswagen and PSA, Stellantis, times are not good for them right now, and it's not clear to me what they have to do to be competitive, other than to make sure they have a competitive landscape, that everything that comes in is not being unfairly advantaged. Otherwise, they're just going to have to shut down segments of the economy. And I think, honestly, from we buy raw materials. Some of our steel for our tools, for example, came from Germany 2 years ago. This is an incredibly energy intensive process to make these big blocks, 10,000 kilogram blocks of steel. And one of the things I see, both from consumers, people I talk to when I go to Italy and Germany on business, and also the industries, is the cost of energy is very high. That's in part because of the Ukraine-Russia war, and so I think the quicker we bring this war to an end, and hopefully energy prices can get back to normal, I think that would do a large part to unstick the economy. Not to mention the fact that Europe would not be worried about the specter of a larger war. I think this is important for this to be resolved as quickly as possible. So I think energy prices are one reason why the auto industry is where it is. I just watched a video yesterday on the energy prices in China. China has to import their coal. They import most of their energy, but still their prices are a fraction of what they're paying in Germany, for example. So I think that's a real problem for competitiveness.
So definitely Europe has a challenge, but what about Japan? Do you see a future for Japan's car industry?
Yes, of course. People have read, on the news, some setbacks, maybe issues with Toyota or all of them I say all of the Japanese manufacturers, in terms of the speed or the slowness at which they've approached electrification. The irony is that the Honda and Toyota had the first commercially successful hybrid vehicles that were out there. And even though there were other hybrids that came after them, at least in California, people wanted the Prius because it looked like what people thought a hybrid should look like. And of course, people are also buying a vehicle to emote what they care about the environment, or they care about this, or they care about hunting, or whatever. And so, really, for a long time, the Prius was in the Insight. And I had one of the first Honda Insights. It was a miserable little vehicle, but very efficient. And the Japanese, set the pace and led everybody in that adoption. But with electric, people are like, well, where's Japan? Like, what are they waiting for? They're refusing really to get on this bandwagon, and I don't know why that is. They fool around with hydrogen for a long time. Toyota and Honda both. Toyota mostly. That hasn't worked out. There's all kinds of economics about hydrogen that just for this application, for a consumer vehicle, it just don't make sense. Not the least of which are the number of fueling stations, the energy required to compress it, to get it into a usable form. But the Japanese have clearly led the way in terms of quality and high-tech manufacturing, and I'm sure they will continue to do so. There's Toyota, still one of the largest, vehicle brands on the planet. They just have to decide that they are going to play in that market, and they're looking at everything globally. They're saying, well, a large part of our market is in segments where electrification is not an issue. They have plenty of gas. So I think they're being the Japanese. I've worked with a couple of Japanese companies, and as part of their culture, that I adore, is they're just very pragmatic, and they take a long time to reach consensus and make a decision. Feels like a very long time for us as Westerners watching their industry. Go just a couple of miles, I suppose, north to Korea, and it's almost the exact opposite. Hyundai and Kia they've got a product line up here in the U.S. For electric vehicles. It's just outstanding, and they've gone all in on that approach, and I think that's the approach that we'd want to see from Toyota and the others. Nissan, of course, led with the Leaf, but they've had a really weak offering, not only with the Leaf, the follow-up models and other vehicles since then. So I think it's just going to have to be an all-in approach, similar to what Hyundai and Kia have done for them to be successful. But they certainly have the talent.
So here we see that Steve is saying that the Chinese build quality is exceptionally good. And no doubt he probably got a lot of this information maybe from Sandy Monroe, who has actually tore down a couple of Chinese vehicles already. I know he did the BYD, the truck that they came out with, and their quality it looks pretty nice. So you can't have no arguments there. And when he brought out about what the Europeans have to do, he brought up about the war and how the import of material and things may have gotten a little out of hand. Of course, we know that the dealerships and the unions for the auto businesses have kind of gotten a little out of hand too, even though, with the unions, I agree that the employees need to get paid so that they can take care of their families instead of giving all that money to the CEOs. And I mean, they're getting paid millions of dollars where the workers are getting paid practically nothing. So, I mean, what are your thoughts on that? How do you feel? Let me get your feedback. And when Steve started talking about the Japanese, I think the problem with the Japanese is that they kind of wanted to stick with hydrogen. They wanted that to be the main fuel source for their vehicles and for the houses, but they sort of gotten a little behind now because the hydrogen, to process it and make it a usable energy source, the price is just too high. It doesn't quite equal out as far as doing batteries right now. The price of batteries is coming down exponentially, and that should be what they turn to. And I agree with Steve. if they turn to making BEVs now and make that their main focus, their build quality is there. They have very good vehicles. I have a Honda, 2008 Honda, and it's still running practically like new almost. So the build quality is there. And I know the Japanese, everybody was expecting them to go ahead and jump on that bandwagon too. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Whoever comes out with the solid state battery is really going to be on top of the world, even though it seems like a lot of companies are basically going to come out with it at the same time. But anyway, once again, give me your thoughts. How do you feel about what Steve brought out here? I think that's very interesting. So we just have to wait and see how everything goes. But anyway, let me go ahead and give a shout out to my patrons and everybody that's watching this video. Thank you guys very much for all your help and your support. I truly appreciate every one of you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And if you're new here, you could either join the channel or you could hit the link, ring the bell, subscribe, and my videos will get out to more people. So you guys take care. You have a good one, and we will catch you later. All right. Bye-bye.